Australian media, as we all know, are facing many challenges with respect to technology and changing audience, and traditional business models have had to change. Centre Alliance is aware of these challenges, which is why in 2017 we negotiated an ACCC inquiry into the impact of digital platforms and the impact they were having on advertising in the media market as part of our support for the government's media regulation reforms. As a direct result of that inquiry, the government directed the ACCC to develop a mandatory code of conduct to address bargaining power imbalances between Australian news media and digital platforms. Two of the world's biggest platforms, Google and YouTube, have instigated a campaign using their audiences regarding this draft code, which has caused some concern in my community. We've only seen the exposure draft, and Centre Alliance needs to see the final legislation before we feel that we really need to reach a position. However, we believe media operators should be fairly compensated for the content they produce, and that includes the ABC and SBS. The media landscape is changing and regulations need to change to keep pace, and that's why we will support this bill before the House. This bill primarily provides flexibility for regional commercial and television broadcasters to meet local content obligations with some limited circumstances. It also provides some relief from obligations. Regional commercial radio broadcasters will be able to split their local news and information content obligation exemptions into two periods. And in certain circumstances, regional and remote television broadcasters constrained by commercial agreements with metropolitan broadcasters will be deemed to have complied with the Australian content quota. This is about making regional media voices sustainable, and that's something that we support. It's one of the reasons why I approached the Minister for Finance in the early stages of the COVID-19 crisis to request some flexibility to use my office budget to include community radio. As an elected member, I use the resources, as do all of us here, to communicate with my community, and particularly public safety information and Treasury support measures relating to the COVID-19 were particularly important. So I sent out a newsletter to households. I place advertisements in regional newspapers and content on my social media platforms. However, it was brought to my attention by community radio stations that they felt they had been overlooked. And this is because the Parliamentary Business Resources Regulations used to preclude the use of office expenses to pay for such broadcasting. So I wrote to the Finance Minister, and I'm very pleased that the government agreed with that view, and now all of us in this place can support our community broadcasters, as well as ensuring that our messages in our community, and particularly with respect to COVID, which was so critical, to get it out to as far and wide as we possibly can. I'd like to, as I said, thank the Minister for having the vision to include that. Community radio engages 5.8 million people each year. It's an extremely effective medium for reaching regional audiences. And I know firsthand, I've had a long association with community radio, although I'm no longer a volunteer, and it's volunteers that keep community radio stations alive. But more than 25 years ago, Mr Deputy Speaker, I had my own program on community radio. My hair was a different colour then. There was a lot less grey in the hair then, but that youthful exuberance, and I loved it. And I would like to just put a call out to a lady called Judith Ward. Judith Ward still has a show on Coast FM, and she was a wonderful mentor to me, and was very warm and engaging, and invited me onto her show, and that's where I learnt about community radio, and that's where I built the confidence to eventually have my own show. But I have so many amazing community radio stations in my electorate, and when I think of them, I've got Tribe FM at Wollonga, I've got Triple Z at McLaren Vale, Kicks FM on Kangaroo Island, Alex FM at Goolwa, Happy FM and Flurio FM on the South Coast, Lofty Radio in the Adelaide Hills, and then online there's Hills Radio, and we're hoping that Hills Radio might be able to receive a proper broadcast licence. And so I regularly talk to Bob and Jack and Mike and Diane, Janet, Tanya and Chris, and as well as one young person who does in a way remind me of myself when I was on radio, and his name is Ryder Gruby. Ryder is 12 years of age and he has his own radio station on Fleurieu FM on Thursdays, and he's an amazing young man. And it's a wonderful training ground for young people community radio. And so I would really encourage every member in this place, if they don't already do so, get into your community radio stations. They will warmly welcome you and they will be willing to chat about anything you're interested in, as long as it's based in the community. And we talk about everything from raising dogs, I have a great day, and we talk about that, all the way through to community issues that are happening in our area. Lots of good fun. I'd also like to acknowledge a gentleman who's recently retired from Happy FM, who has been the lifeblood of Happy FM, and his name is Ken Burgess. Ken has actually retired and I think moved up to sunny Queensland. He's left Victor Harbour, but he's deeply missed in our community, and thank you, Ken, for all your years of dedication and volunteering, and that's what this is all about. It's about volunteering. So I commend this bill to the House, and I look forward to being able to support my regional community radio stations and regional newspapers in my electorate into the future. Thank you, Mr Deputy